Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Halloween! Alright, so we are doing another spooky card tonight. And while I really wanted to have a story about cats, so it could go along with this cat card, I don't really have a creepy cat story. If you have one, let me know. But yeah, so we're just going to do another one. But anyway, oh, and also, if you guys can, I'm going to try to talk louder, but I'm not really a loud talker, so I might have to pick up a little microphone or something. A friend of mine told me she could not hear the last couple of videos. So if you have had trouble, or if I sound fuzzy or in a barrel, or let me know how it sounds the last couple of videos. Yeah, comment below and let me know if you can hear okay or not or whatever. So, and because there's this little microphone at Five Below, then that would give me an excuse to buy it. So, yeah. All right, so first up, we are using this stamp from Whimsy Stamps, and it's called Vintage Wallpaper Background, but to me it looks like Halloween wallpaper, you know? So we're going to go with that. But our spooky story tonight comes to us from Georgia. So this one's from Mary. Hey, Mary. And let's see, how am I gonna have to? The stamp covers the whole card, so I have to figure out a way to like put the card down without, without being able to use the magnets. So I guess I'm just gonna have to. I should probably, before I totally take that part, do a little here and a little here. But anyway, so I did find some cool stories about some of the cemeteries you were talking about, Mary. I was looking those up and I enjoyed those, but I decided that since you probably already know those, I would like to tell you guys something about your state or your area, maybe that you don't know. So this is one of my favorites. I was racking my brain about the creepiest thing I've heard from Georgia, and I thought back to years ago, this Unsolved Mysteries episode I watched, and then later I watched it on, I think it's just called A Haunting. There's like a whole series or something, and it's called, well, there's a movie. Okay, I'm going to go into a lot of stuff. I'm going to leave a link to a movie about this, and as well as the actors that acted it out kind of themselves. Normally when they do a haunting, they'll like talk to the people, but then they flip back to the regular actors. But these people played themselves, or for the most part. I don't think the kid did until later, because you see her talking and, it doesn't look like her. But I love when things are, based on a true story, all that. So there's a movie, and they consulted with the family. They met with the family, and the actors met with the family. I thought that was very cool. So, but the movie is a little different than this, I guess, documentary. It's not exactly a documentary. I don't know what you call it, that I'm going to link you to. So there's two, and they're kind of long, but I'm telling you, it's worth watching. Watch the real version first, like the people, and then watch a movie. And for some reason, they call it A Haunting in Connecticut 2, which it's not. But then it's called A Haunting in Georgia. I don't know. I don't understand that Connecticut thing, unless, I think in the movie, maybe they started off in Connecticut and then went back. So maybe that was it. I don't know. But let me get this stamp down. Put some pressure on there. Okay. That will work. I think that's all I really need the stamp for, I guess. Hope this doesn't, try to take it off easy so it doesn't like tear the card. Normally I'll do this number a little bit and kind of get the sticky off. but I forgot to do that. So, but it's okay because it didn't stick. So, all right. A Haunting in Georgia. This is the Wyrick house, and Mr. Gordy are the main, well, not exactly the main players, but basically. But it starts off in, let me find my pad here. It starts off in rural Georgia. I cannot say that word. And the family is, they're young. They're like, Dad was like, I think 21 or something. Andy was his name. They were looking for a home to raise the kids, or they had a daughter at that time, and but eventually they ended up having another one. They found this nice little brick ranch style kind of house or whatever, spacious yard, and they were like, yes, all the things we need. And they wanted to raise their daughter Heidi, and you know, no worries like them running out into the road or whatever. You got some space to run around. And the previous owners, this is always, if I'm going to buy a house, this is always one of those keys. Like, if the previous owners leave in a hurry, I don't know. But it was such a good deal, they didn't bother, you know, thinking anything about it or checking it out. They were just thrilled to have the house. So, maybe I could scoot this to me a little bit more. Anyway, they moved in. They were happy. Everything was going good. But in March, Heidi wanted to go out and play, and that's where she first met Mr. Gordy. And Mr. Gordy was kind of an older gentleman. I mean, he was dead, but an older gentleman. He was like dressed in black and white, kind of like a suit, but he was just a sweet, sweet old fella, you know. And she would play tea party and all that. She was young. I don't think she was in school yet or whatever. And you know, so she played. She didn't really have any friends around there. That was the only thing they didn't really like about the house. And so he said, do you want to come and play on my swing? And so she, you know, she ran in the house to ask her mom. And of course, the mom and dad are freaking out. And okay, where's my circles? Hang on here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stamp several. Oh, I've got them out. Yeah, I am. Yuck. So, she and Mr. Gordy played, and she wasn't afraid of him and anything like that. But the mom freaked out when she came in and said, Mommy, some man, you know, asked me to come and play on his swing. And she went outside. There's no man, you know. And so she immediately called her husband and freaked out a little bit. And he came home, and they were thinking like, you know, some pedophile or something. And this stamp is by Lost Coast Designs, by the way. Fabulous little company. And so anyway, Dad came home, and I'm just going to keep doing these while I've got it here. Actually, I might want a little bit lighter one. Try to get like a double out of that. But they didn't find anybody. And so then they kind of, over time, she talked about Mr. Gordy so much. Like, she wanted to take her lunch and have it with Mr. Gordy. And, you know, the mom would always fix Mr. Gordy, whoever that was, a plate as well. And it was never touched or anything like that. So Mom just thought that's her imaginary friend, and it all seems fine, you know. And Mom asked, like, what they would talk about. And, you know, she's just said all sorts of things and, you know, everything but nothing. And so it seemed harmless enough. And then the lady I'm trying to think of the woman's name. I don't know. Anyway, the lady contacted her sister and said that the house beside of her is for sale. She wishes she would move there too. So her sister did move there. And she noticed the little girl talking to Mr. Gordy. Like, she would literally look up and talk to him, or in the chair, or, you know, just like he was really there. And so she was a little more concerned because the mom, I guess, had kind of gotten used to it in a way. And so she was more concerned. She talked to him about it, and the mom still didn't really see any harm in it. And just going to do all three of these at once here. I guess I'm just going to start with the black. Anyway, she didn't see any harm in it, and she, you know, just kind of let her go on talking to him or whatever. And but the dad was a little concerned, and he ended up getting her a dog. Yay, a dog. And the dog's name was, what was it? Not that this matters to the story, but, you know, me and dogs. Anyway, Sheba. It was named, yeah, it was Sheba. But anyway, so they thought that might get, you know, how you're hanging out with your dog, and it's like your BFF and whatever. At least mine was growing up. It didn't matter what little friends I had to play with. My doggy was still the best playmate ever. But I still feel that way. But anyway, so, all right, so she plays with the dog, and she loves the dog and everything, but she just basically takes the dog with her to see Mr. Gordy all the time. And so this lady, Mrs. Kelly, comes over to the aunt's house that moved in, and she's the one that sold it to her or whatever. And she talks to her about, she brings her a deed, and she said that her family, you know, had lived there since the 1900s and all that. And she's like, you know, how do you like your new place and all that? And the lady's like, well, it's never home, but, you know, I like it. And anyway, the aunt is looking down on the deed, and she sees James Gordy, the name. And so she wondered if that would be, the little girl's name is Heidi, and if that would be Heidi's Mr. Gordy. So she asked her about it and things, and she said, oh, he lived up the road and whatever. He was a real nice guy, friend of the family's, and he took care of my mother's affairs and her estate and just things like that. And I'm going to add a little bit of orange, to these two. But anyway, she said that he'd passed away, and in 1970 something, maybe 74 or something like that. And so she didn't really think any more about it, you know. She just kind of went on, but she did tell her sister. And so the sister, the mom, went to look it up in the library, and back then they had to look it up on microfiche, you know, the old stuff. And so she found when he died and where he was buried and all that. And so she told Heidi about it, that he had passed away, that he couldn't be real. And she said, but he's real to me, Mama. He's real. And so Heidi asked, could they go see his grave, visit his grave? And the mom said yes. And so the mom and her father, like the mom's father, took her out there. And let's see. Okay, which one do we like? I'm going to put this behind it. So I might as well just go ahead and take these on, I think. We'll figure out which one we want to use in a minute. So anyway, but when they were getting out of the car, you know how kids always run out first or whatever, lots of energy. So Heidi gets out of the car and starts running towards the graves, and she's like, wait up, Heidi, wait up, you know. And but Heidi ran straight to Mr. Gordy's grave, and it was like a huge graveyard. And you know, she's just little, she can't read or whatever. And so she goes straight to his spot, though, and she said, this is Mr. Gordy's grave, Mom, you know. And So they're all like, well, oh my gosh, it is, you know, how'd she know that? And then she asked her papa, she's like, can you read me that? And he, you know, told her the name and whatever it said and what years he lived and that kind of thing. And so they left, and let's see, should I put I'm thinking about pop dotting one of them, like puffy taping it. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so they came back from the graveyard and everything, and then a few days later is the first time she saw a kind of a rougher looking spirit. Not bad, but just, I don't know, just disheveled and whatever. His name, she called him Con, C-O-N-N. And she came to her mom in the kitchen again. She ran in there. She opened the door, and I don't know if he said, can I come in, or I don't know. But anyway, he appeared on her doorstep with a bloody shirt and kind of like splatters of blood and holding his arm. And so she ran in and said, you know, mommy, there's a man at the door with blood on his shirt. So the mom gets a knife and says, stay here, you know, and she heads in there to take care of it or whatever. And what kind of craziness is going on? And so there's nobody there. And so she tells, you know, explains it more to her mom or whatever. And but anyway, it's like just one of those things. And she can't find anything or whatever, so she goes on. And later on, she meets with that Miss Kelly again that had sold the aunt her house. So it's like kind of all her family land or whatever, all, you know, but all these people had lived on the land. Mr. Gordy had just lived close to it and was more like a caretaker kind of thing. But Con had, well, they brought some pictures and things, and she told the aunt that, or maybe it was the mom, one of them, that Con had lived there, and he had had his hand cut off, and like growing up when he was a kid working in the cotton gin, and so that kind of coincided with the bloody shirt, you know, made her think whatever. But he'd passed away in 1957, and anyway, then things progressed or whatever. That's a little crooked, isn't it? We won't use that one. We'll go for that one, or maybe this one. Maybe that one. Okay, so what we have here is an assortment of stamps. I know I'm not using this one, but I am using these. So they're all cat related, and we're going to have like a little cat reading, I guess you could say. So this is just like a little Ouija board of a cat and a little planchette, some little tarot cards, some books, and of course the cat. And what inspired this was a set that says October 31st Paul readings. Get it, Paul, for the cat. October 31st Paul readings. All cats welcome. I just thought that was the cutest thing. All right, so we're just gonna press and press and press. Anyway, back to the story. So she talks to her mom. She starts to see more stuff and more people, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, spirits. And she said, you know, you promise you won't be scared if I tell you something, Mom? And she's like, no, I won't be scared. And she said, there's a man behind you. And so they start getting closer and closer to the family, you know. And that night she came in and to like the parents' bedroom. Well, that didn't even work. The parents' bedroom. That's okay. It's okay that it didn't work because I've already stamped them out and embossed them and cut them out so that my video will not be 100 years long, maybe. So here's what we have, though, by the way. So we've got, hang on, that's my little camera. Let me check it. Yep, that is my father coming home from church. Okay, so I might have to disappear for just a quick second, but in a minute. All right, so we've got a stack of books. This goes with that. Anyway, I've cut out several in case we're going to use them, and let me tell you, the cat is not easy to cut out. Ugh, it's all the little whatever. I'm trying to get all the little claws, and yeah, that is difficult. And then I have these bag. It says 5 tiny tarot cards, and it was $1. And I think I bought it at like a stamp festival. Let me see what that says. Oh no, that was at the beach. Artful Legacy. There used to be a store down there at Surfside Beach, right down below Myrtle. And oh wow, I forgot that. Anyway, so some cute little tarot cards in there. So I laid out a few of those. We'll work on that. Anyway, so I guess now, let me move this stuff. So we are going to use 1, 2, 3. Okay. And trying to find one that I got the claws cut out the best on. Probably this one, I don't know. And probably not going to use the books, but we're going to get to coloring. So, all right. So overall, I'm just going to do yellow here. I'm just going to do a quick thing around it, and then oh no, he's let a gnat in. And it beelined right for this room because these bright lights. I leave the like the porch, the side light on for him, and so it millers and gnats and all the things are like flying right around the door. And if he comes in slow, yep, something will fly in every time. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and color that one up. Okay, y'all, I will be right back. Let me go open the door. Look at the kitty. Enjoy the kitty cat. Okay, I'm back. Shut that. He is safely in and all that good stuff. Okay, sorry about that. I wish I had a pause button, but I don't. So it is what it is. All right, where were we in the story? Well, the mom was experiencing things. They saw a chair move, different things. The aunt saw something. The little girl came to their bed with 3 scratches on her face, kind of like claw marks. And the dad, nothing seemed to be happening to the dad. I don't know why that is in all the true stories or the movies or the whatever. They're always the last. And to me, it's not that they don't believe it. I guess it's hard to believe if it's not happening to you, but like they don't. So but as soon as it started happening to him, he was a quick believer. But he experienced the scratches too, first on his, maybe his side or something, and then the next night down his back and different places. So he was starting to kind of come around, I feel like. So okay, I'm gonna do the cat this color, so I've got to tie all this in with that. So I feel like, I don't know if this is quite the right color. I wanted a black cat, but yet, since I've already embossed, already embossed it in black, it's just not going to really, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's not going to go quite as well. I'll come back to that. I'm not sure. But anyway, okay, so the librarian had given her the name of some scientists, like, who study paranormal activity, and they use science to explain the phenomenon of hauntings, that kind of stuff. And they use place memory. Like, the doctor that came thought, he was, I think, a parapsychologist or something. Heidi responded to, like, past images of Mr. Gordy, similar to, like, recording, you know, like, of a person's energy that's been stuck there, retained there, I guess, long after they've died. So I think that to me, that explains a lot of hauntings, just like that. I feel like it's like leftover energy or something. But anyway, so, but the scientists were looking more for, like, an environmental type a reason. They didn't think it was like a demon haunting or a whatever. They were looking for, like, positive ions or high levels of those things. And they did all kinds of tests and all that. There was, like, fluctuations in magnetic fields, and that occurs, you know, when the rocks shift, you know, naturally, but shift into the ground or whatever. And they brought in a team, and they measured all the factors or whatever. And so the doctor definitely thought that it was, like, in the environment or around the environment, that was causing the so-called hauntings. Like, the ghosts were not real in his opinion, I guess. But the hallucinations were brought on by, like, you know, all the ions and the whatever, the environment, pretty much. So, is that part of the cat, or I think it is. Anyway, yeah. But he had discovered, like, a seismic fault on the property, not, like, right at the house, but still on the property. But he couldn't really explain the scratches. That was his biggest thing. But the haunting continued, of course. Years progressed. They even had another little girl. Her name was Jordan, I believe. And they, you know, they didn't really, nothing really stopped it. Heidi, she saw ghosts all the time, pretty much. Poor kid. But she saw Mr. Gordy less and less. But there were more, I guess, sinister spirits or something. The faceless man scared her the most. I think that's what she called him. Or maybe it's like the dark man, something like that. But it was like she could never see his face, just kind of a black outline. He wasn't real, like Mr. Gordy, you know, like in physical form or whatever. He was just kind of like, not exactly a shadow, but still faceless and, you know, dark and just kind of away. And he didn't talk to her. He didn't, none of that stuff. So it kind of freaked her out more, I guess. But of course, growing up in a small town like that, I guess, where's my yellow? I'm going to give the cat some yellow eyes. Sorry about the noise. That's just a car going by. Let's give it a little yellow nose here. Okay. So it's got a little color in that. Now we need some of this color on this, I guess. Maybe these. I guess. I don't know. Does that look weird? Or maybe I should do sort of the outline of the card. I don't know. Anyway, Heidi was teased and things like that. When people found out as she grew up in school, you know, it showed them like going through this little diner or whatever, and some of the mean kids were like, boo, or, you know, whatever, how just little mean butts kids can be sometimes. So that was fine, you know, but she survived it. She made it, but I'm sure it was not pleasant and was unfair to her. So, but anyway, there was one reporter, can't remember if it said who he was with or what, but he studied that type of thing, and he came by the house and wanted to do like an interview with the family and whatever, and he pulled up and he like felt such a strong presence when he got out of the car that he like went back, and then of course he put it in all the papers though that you know, that this house was haunted and that kind of thing. So that was kind of, it didn't help like at school and that kind of thing for her. But so I'm sure life was pretty miserable, and it's probably hard to get any sleep and that kind of thing. But, you know, okay, everything's sticking to me. She did have one friend, though. It talked about she confided in her and that kind of thing. And the friend even experienced some strange things in the house. All right, now we got to do our punch here. Use this little Stampin' Up! Punch. Okay. And we're basically just going to do the same thing with that. Let's see what else happened. She was teased. I don't know. Heidi could always sense if they were good or bad, the spirits, you know. I think the mother thought that they were all bad, just she wasn't as in tune maybe as Heidi was, or maybe her spirits were bad, I don't know. But yeah, it was, her mom had started seeing things too, and one of the hardest for her was when they were like above her bed talking. She felt like they were talking about her, and so that was kind of tough for her. I'm sure they didn't get a lot of sleep. I think that's the worst thing about haunting, is the lack of sleep and the, you know, well, maybe not the worst thing, but you know what I'm saying. It's a bad thing. It wears on you. If you just don't sleep for just a few days, you're just like all over the place. But anyway, it went on for like 10 years or so. And, oh, dropping everything. And, okay, where's my little? And the entities grew more terrifying as the time went on. Mr. Gordy kind of came less and less, or came around, and she missed him. I mean, that was like her little childhood friend. I think he was a real comfort to her, and I think he looked out after her a lot, kind of, or maybe just looked out after the land, I don't know, but I don't know. Anyway, so in desperation, they went to the church, or turned to their faith, I guess it said, and let's see. So I want this up here. Let's kind of get it laid out. And the church at least believed them, so that was good. Of course, you know, they're automatically going to think everything's demonic and whatever, but I think the preacher did understand some ESP, and did understand that they were psychic or whatever. And the doctor actually went back. Well, they called him after. They went to the church and all that, and they prayed for him, and, whatever. But, so they not necessarily sent them on, but, I mean, I don't know, I guess they did their part or whatever. And, so then the dad wanted to contact the doctor. I can't remember his name, but, Dr. Roll or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, he wanted to contact him again, but they'd kind of already broken away from him. He'd sort of done all he could do. But when he came back, he was particularly interested in the little sister, Jordan. And I'm not sure how old at that point she was, but the mom had seen her sitting in the hall talking to a spirit. When she asked her who she was talking to, she's like, I'm talking to the little girl, who got killed on a whatever. And so she was talking to spirits. The mom was experiencing stuff. Heidi, of course, experienced lots of stuff. And so the doctor wanted to see if it was, these magnetic fields and all that stuff, or if it was more genetics. What's the deal? So he went back to Lisa. That was the mom's name. He went back to Lisa's house, her parents' house and her grandparents and things, and kind of did a study all like down her line, I guess, and discovered that more on her side of the family, both men and women, had tons of experiences. I gotta get back to this card. It's just blah, blah, blah. But they had tons of experiences. And I originally I colored some books, but I feel like this card is so busy that I don't know. I was going to have the cat be like on the books, but I want I guess we could do it like that. I don't know. It seems seems a lot busy, maybe because of all that back there. I don't know. But if we scooted this over, it wouldn't seem like so much. Have y'all been, okay, this is sidetracking from the story, but have y'all been to the, like the bookstores or the cat places where you can come in, you can sit down and read a book with the cats, and they're trying to get the cats adopted and all that? I imagine this was, maybe the cats will give you readings and you can hold out your paw, or your pet can, and yeah. Okay, so should we do it like that, or should we could take the books away, which was my second plan, and it can kind of be on the board here. And I used to think at my funeral, all the memes on Facebook, it's like, here, pass them out Ouija boards and say, hey, keep in touch. Yeah, that wouldn't work for me, though, because I barely like my family as it is. So I don't know if I'd want to have to put up with talking to them in the afterlife, too. But, that white was just bothering me a little bit there. Okay. And really, I should cut out that little tiny part at the cat. But I probably won't. Or should I take that away? Just leave that. I feel like I want to use these so bad. Maybe there's one that color-wise might work better. Not that one. That's a busy one, too. I feel like it needs to be less busy. Okay, well, I think we'll go with that. I really want to use those, though. I don't know what I can do to make it, like, less busy. You know what I mean? But anyway, okay, so back to, they, clean up some of this a little bit. They went back to her place and her family. They realized, she was people were having experiences on her side for a long time. And her mom, which would have been the girl's grandma, I guess, grew up in Haunted Holler and Haunted Hollow, I guess. She was either raised near or like along the house, I can't remember, lived or was existing like along the Trail of Tears. And so lots of people saw things there, you know. There was that cave with the screams. I've heard that one before. And the cries coming out of there, but then they go explore it, you know, and like nothing's there. Or no people are, you know, trapped in the cave or anything. So, all right, where's my tape? The doctor tried to explain the apparitions like they were just because of their psychic abilities and that kind of thing and all the stuff around. The doctor sent in this medium who I love. If y'all watch that, look for Amy on there. Her name's Amy Allen, and I've seen her on other things too. This maybe is where she got her start. I'm not sure, but she's awesome. I've seen her on other programs, so but she felt a lot of spirits and things like that at their house that they were living at. She felt a caretaker, which I'm assuming was Mr. Gordy. She did say he was like a protector. So I think that's why he sheltered her maybe when she was younger. And another medium that was brought in, they thought they've kind of found some sort of portal. But nobody was any closer to answering how they make them go away, you know. They tried the church again. They prayed for them. They anointed them. They, you know, again, like I said, they just believed it was completely demonic. They did go home at that point. They felt more confident, things like that. But the psychic, or the medium, she thought they should just try to understand it. And she thinks that the little girl, well, not a little girl, at this point, she's kind of grown up to a teenager, but Heidi, oh no, I'm going to lose this placement, ain't I? All right. I forgot I haven't glued this down. Or taped it down. But she thinks, you know, you've got to accept your psychic abilities. You can't run away from them, that kind of thing. And, but they're getting, I don't know if they're getting worn down, stronger, used to it, something. But, you know, at that point, they know they're never going to really lead a normal life, or so-called normal, I guess. But the mom says one day they just hope to find peace and that kind of thing, and it has gotten some better. But they, like I said, at first she kind of wanted to move, and they really couldn't move financially, which is, I feel like the case in almost every story. It's like, I don't know, maybe spirits know that you're trapped in that way too, so, I don't know. But they can never move, it seems like. So, but anyway, the mom says they just have faith and that things happen less, and Heidi herself doesn't see it as like a curse, at least now, and not so much a gift, but at least not a curse. And although I think if somebody could work with her, like on that show, Psychic Kids, I do think she might see it as a gift, but I don't know. Anyway, so it said Heidi continues to still see spirits, and but those who study this phenomenon, that kind of thing, that they say she'll always see them, she always will, and that there's nothing she can do to stop it. So, I don't know, y'all. I guess that's sort of the end of the story. I cannot tell this story very well. I really, really suggest that you go watch. It's not like a real spooky video or anything, but watch. It's like I said, kind of long, and I don't know if I should use glue. I feel like I might should use some glue for these. How well they're going to stick. Sometimes I feel like this tape doesn't stick quite as well as what I want it to, but it is what it is, I guess. Maybe if I squish it on there a little bit more. That would be another car going by. Sorry about that noise. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to leave a link and things below. And the movie is just great, I think, too. But I would personally want to watch them first so you can, like, see the real people, and because they're on there, and I don't know, somehow it makes me connect more or something. But it's I don't know. But hopefully, if you do see spirits and you're young, or your child does, or your whatever, hopefully they can all at least have a Mr. Gordy. And she did see other spirits, different, like ones going through the hallway or something. There was a little girl I remember walked through with like a rose or something, and she kind of acknowledged her some, but not too much. It was like Heidi knew, and I think I want to say she was older then, but she just kind of, she didn't bother her. She didn't worry about her, like she was just a little harmless girl. And so she went on. And like, so she could just sense the ones that were good or not. And but when you're psychic and things, you're like a beacon of light to the dead. So there's that. You just, I guess, roll with it. But back to our card. Let's talk about our card. So would you come to the cat paw reading center here and come get a nice, oh no, I don't want it there. Oh, okay, guess I'm committed now. Oh well, this should go under there, tucked a little bit more. That's why sometimes you can't use tape, because it sticks. Glue you have a little playing time with, but not so much with tape. So the moral of the story here is, if you're going to use tape, be ready. Okay. So if any of you guys ever had readings and things like that done, like little, it could be tarot cards, or I should have put a little crystal ball in here too. I think I had my first one when I was very, very young. I was on the way to the beach with my parents, and we passed this, and I've always wanted to pass it again, and I never have. Even like a year later after that, I just never saw it again. Maybe it was just meant for me to see that one time. But it was somewhere in South Carolina, and I guess it was South Carolina. I really don't even know, but it was on the way to the beach, and Myrtle. We were headed to Myrtle, and and this lady had a giant, like, psychic reading sign or something in her yard, and I begged my father, please let me do that. And I was only like 8 or 9, and he was busy just telling me, like, I had to go in the room with her by myself, naturally. And so he kind of pulled me to the side and was like, don't you take any candy, don't you drink anything, you yell if you need me. Like, he was not real happy about it. I'm really surprised he even let me do it. But I thought it was fabulous. I loved it. And but I would love to have found that place again. But and I've had many since, but that was definitely my most memorable, I guess. Okay. I did a tarot card reading, and I did a palm reading. So, all right. Did I get that on? Yes. So now I feel like it's too plain, because it wouldn't have been too plain. It's still a little much, but I'll just add a gem. That's what I'll do. Let me look. this would be perfect. That's a little too blue, isn't it? Maybe... do gold. Okay, probably not those. Maybe just gold. All right, yeah, even that helps it a little bit. I could keep going. I mean, they could go all the way around here, really, if we wanted it to. Don't know if we do, but I don't know. No, that's not looking for it. Oh, I'm looking for this one. Oh, it just popped off. Okay. All right, so let's put one right there. So what are you guys stamping tonight? Has anybody, oh my gosh, it's, tonight is, what is this, Thursday night. And tomorrow, they are coming out with some new Unity Stamp Company stamps, which I've already seen a little bit of a peek of. And I was thinking, okay, I just don't need them to come out with anything fabulous right now because money. And like I'm normally wanting them to always come out with it in July, but they typically wait till like right when I'm going to go back to school, which drives me crazy because then I don't have time to use it or whatever. And for all the new Halloween releases. But so now they're at least coming out with this one right now. And I saw that Whimsy Stamps, and you know Whimsy has some fabulous Halloween stuff. That they're coming out with some stuff. It's a little crooked. I don't know. I almost feel like I need two tiny little ones up here. I think I do. One there. One there. Okay, so now I am, when I get focused, I talk low. So, Sandy, I truly, truly hope you can hear me. If you can't, let me know, and I will figure it out, I promise. Because I want you to hear me. I want to interact with you guys. That's why, otherwise, I just sit here and do them myself. So, the point is for you all to hear. And, but anyway. So, thanks for hanging out with me and watching this. And here is our little kitty cat paw reading session card here. And I don't know. I still feel like it's a little hot mess and busy, but I don't know. I don't know what else we can really do with it. But anyway, so if you're interested in new Halloween stamps, look for Unity Stamp Company tomorrow, as well as Whimsy Stamps. And I'm sure there's probably more companies coming to kill my wallet off. So I'll talk to you guys later, and have a great night. Bye.